Okay, guys, so today we are going to do Story of a Child Slave. What I want you guys to do is do the vocabulary on the side of page 54, and we are going to also do the close reading on page 55. Story of a Child Slave. Slavery is a practice of owning other people and forcing them to work for no pay. 27 million people around the world today are enslaved. Many are children. They work long hours at jobs that are difficult, dirty, and sometimes deadly. It was 3 a.m., time for James Coffee Annan to get up. James, just 6 years old, worked on a fishing boat. His workday began every morning at 3 o'clock and did not finish until 8 o'clock at night. In between, he might be fed one meal. He might go hungry all day. He might get yelled at, beaten, or thrown into the lake. James was not paid for his labor. He was a child slave. James was born in Ghana, a country in West Africa, in 1975. His parents named him after an important local man. James was the youngest of 12 children. His parents hadn't gone to school and couldn't read or write. Like many local people, they struggled to support their family. When James was 6, three men visited his village several times. They wore expensive looking clothes and shoes. Each time they left the village, they took local children with them. People said the men were helping the children. They said the men gave the children food and clothing and provided them with an education. One day the men took James with them. James soon learned that the rumors about the men were false. The men weren't going to send James to school, they were fishermen, and James' father had sold James to them. James was now a child slave. James worked on Ghana's Lake Volta for 7 years. He helped the men fish. The work was difficult and dangerous. James became sick many times, yet he was never taken to a doctor. In a fishing net, if a fishing net got stuck underwater, a boy had to dive to free it. The water was dirty and deep. A few boys panicked and drowned. James was desperate to escape. He tried several times to, but he was always caught and beaten. When James was 13, he received sad news from home. The important man he was named after had died. The fishermen let James return to his village for the funeral. James never returned to work. He had finally escaped slavery. His father feared the fishermen would come after him for the money they had paid. Still, James refused to return to slavery. He was a teenager now. He had no money, no job, no clothes. He was illiterate. But James had his freedom and he planned to use it wisely. First, he would attend school to get an education, then he would get a job. Once he had obtained an education, money, and experience, he would use those resources to help other children. So, where it says close reading, it says, what happened to James Coffee Annan after he was taken from his village? You're going to tell me what happened after he was taken from his village, and then you are going to summarize what happened after being sold into slavery. And then, where it says react and write, you're going to tell me what attending school would help James to do. Remember that when we were summarizing, we were just given the central idea and the details. So this is what I want you guys to do for Monday today. Remember that you can use your dictionary or you can use your context clues to fill in what the word desperate is, and also please use an example at the bottom of the meaning.